What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back in my 2022 Subaru BRZ, and I wanted to give you guys a bit of an ownership update since I'm almost at 12,000 miles in this car, and I wanted to just share some of my experiences over the last few months, specifically with regards to my internal struggle on whether or not I should keep my BRZ, continue driving it as my daily and my track car, or my thought of replacing it with another car. So in the past few months, I've actually not driven my BRZ a whole lot. I haven't commuted to work in over 4 months now, and I've only tracked my car once in the past 5 months, so the mileage on this car has just been barely creeping up. I'm at 11,941 right now, and I know the last time I did an ownership update was at 10,000 miles, and that feels like ages ago. But even so, at just under 12,000 miles and about a year and a half of ownership, I've become pretty familiar with this car in terms of how it drives, what are its strengths and its weaknesses, both as a daily driver as well as a track car, and how it compares to a lot of other cars out there at a similar price point or at much higher price points. And obviously I've done quite a few mods to the BRZ, so I want to share my perspective on which mods really make sense if you specifically have a use case similar to mine, which is essentially 70 to 80% daily driver, and the rest of the time consisting of occasional canyon runs and track days several times a year. So I've said this before in other videos, but it's worth repeating. I love the Subaru BRZ and Toyota GR86 because of how much dual duty capabilities they offer at such a low price point, brand new. At right around $30,000 here in the US, I still don't think there is a single car on sale today, I would argue for less than $40,000, arguably even 50 grand, that offers as good a blend of daily drivability, comfort, plus exciting at the limit driving dynamics. Sure, you could compare this car to an old Honda S2000, and that's a topic I explored in greater detail in my S2000 CR versus BRZ versus ND2 Miata review. But while it's true that there are older cars out there like the S2000 that you can pick up for about the same price as a new BRZ or even cheaper, that offer arguably even better driving dynamics, there's always a big caveat to that type of comparison because you're taking a 15, 20-year-old car and comparing it to something that's brand new, has a full warranty. In the case of the BRZ, it's a 3-year powertrain warranty. And with an old car like an S2000, for under 30 grand, you're looking at something with probably close to 100,000 miles. So I'm ignoring that type of comparison for purposes of this discussion. Let's talk about just brand new cars. Now, I recently had the opportunity to live with a brand new 2023 Toyota Supra manual for about a week. And I did a couple of videos on that car, and while it was pretty sad the day I had to give the keys back, because I really did love what the Supra had to offer in terms of comfort, fun factor, and performance, compared to the BRZ and GR86, the Supra still is a much less practical car. And so what else can you get for under 50 grand that still gives you the same blend of those factors that I just mentioned? You get front engine, rear wheel drive dynamics. You can slide this thing around all day long and not feel terrified because this car's limits from the factory aren't that high. You can have a lot of fun with this car at legal speeds without putting yourself or anyone else in danger, which you can't really say for the Toyota Supra or anything in that performance tier or above it. But last year, one car came out that made me question whether the BRZ still made sense as the best sub $50,000 dual duty car. And that, of course, was the Toyota GR Corolla. I had such high hopes for that car when it came out. I loved the way it looked. It just screams rally car. I love the fact, obviously, from a practicality standpoint, that it is a 5-door hatchback. And while the back seat is not the biggest, it's still much bigger and more usable and more accessible than the one in the BRZ. From a performance standpoint, it has the amazing little 1.6 liter 3-cylinder turbo engine making 300 horsepower, so a good 60 to 70 horsepower more than the BRZ. And most importantly, it was touted as having a very clever all-wheel drive system. I really fell for the fact that it had an adjustable torque split between the front and rear axles. That 30 front, 70 rear torque split mode honestly had me chomping at the bit to get behind the wheel of one to see if it really did feel like a rear wheel drive biased all-wheel drive system, something that you can still throttle steer with relative ease. That was the main draw of the GR Corolla for me when it was first announced. And in fact, the day after I heard about it, I called up my dealership, actually the same one who I got my BRZ from up in Oregon, and asked to get placed on their unofficial waiting list. And the model I had in mind specifically was the Circuit Edition, the limited edition 1500 produced for the first model year with the vented hood, the carbon roof, and that amazing gray color. I was so ready to trade in my BRZ and get behind the wheel on my very first Toyota. But fast forward several months, I still hadn't heard from the dealer on whether or not they had gotten a Circuit Edition allocation. And the original promise they made me, which was $3,000 over MSRP, they were no longer able to promise that, because when the dealer finally got back to me just a couple months ago saying they had one allocation for a Circuit Edition, when I double checked to make sure that the $3,000 markup offer was still intact, of course they said no. With the insane level of desirability that the Circuit Editions are commanding right now, apparently it just didn't make sense for the dealer to honor that $3,000 markup anymore. And I'm a man of principle. I didn't even want to pay $3,000 over a sticker, but I figured, hey, for a close to $45,000 MSRP car, at least $3,000 is a relatively small percentage. So that was one factor that turned me off to the GR Corolla. But actually, the bigger factor came down to the fact that I had the opportunity, 3 opportunities in fact, to drive a GR Corolla. All 3 videos are already on my channel. And it wasn't until I drove it on a soaked canyon road that the car finally started to speak to me. And I mean, just started to speak to me. In dry conditions, the car just feels completely inert. It's not a willing dance partner. It's an absolute grip machine, and it'll give you tons of confidence on a back road, but it's not a car that demands a whole lot from the driver. If you're expecting to steer the car with a throttle, to adjust your line, to get little bits of oversteer, it's simply not the car for you. Maybe if you're driving on gravel or snow, it'll give you some sideways action, but in dry conditions like we have here in California, for the most part at least, the GR Corolla honestly just felt dull. It felt bland, which is the polar opposite of what the BRZ feels like. This is a car that wants to go sideways everywhere, whether you're on a grippy canyon road or a completely drenched racetrack. As I found out recently at Sonoma Raceway, this car is a willing dance partner, and it's a car that I can use as a tool to develop my driving skills, and I love it for that. Couple that with the practicality. I mean, what other car for 30 grand is a 2+2 that weighs 3,000 pounds or less, has a limited slip differential, rear wheel drive, and a manual transmission? It just doesn't exist anymore. If those are your filters in the new car market, the BRZ and GR86 are in a class of 1. And the more I drive it, the more I come to appreciate that fact. Now, I've appreciated that fact since day one. In fact, that's the very reason I bought the BRZ. But now that I'm about 1.5 years and 12,000 miles into ownership, my appreciation for the car has grown even more. Having the opportunity to drive and film so many amazing cars in the last 1.5 years has really given me an even greater sense of perspective of just how special this car really is, especially for its price point. I no longer have the urge to own a Honda S2000. And if you guys have been following my channel for any amount of time, you'll know how perhaps unbelievable that statement might sound. The BRZ really does do just about everything the S2000 did from a driving dynamics standpoint. I would say 90%, but it's an order of magnitude more usable and comfortable on a daily basis. Now that brings me to my next point about modifications. What mods should you do to your BRZ or GR86 if you have a similar use case as mine? And I'll be completely transparent about what mods I would do and what mods I would avoid. If you're a fairly novice driver, or if you're someone who doesn't have a whole lot of experience with front engine rear-wheel drive cars, and you want to take this thing on track, you want to explore the limits and improve your skills as a driver, there are only a couple of things I recommend that you do. Don't go out and buy coilovers, slam this thing to the ground, or even get a big brake kit, a tune, power mods. All of that stuff will not help you become a better driver. You could very easily ruin the feel of this car. You could take the very approachable limits that this car offers from the factory and throw all that out the window if you mod this car the wrong way. So here's what I would recommend. First thing you do is replace the brake pads, front and rear, with a proper set of track-focused pads. They don't necessarily have to be all-out track pads. You can maybe get away with a dual-purpose pad, something like a Ferodo DS2500 or similar, and do a full brake fluid flush, get rid of the OEM crap, and put in some proper high-temperature DOT4 fluid. I would recommend, at a minimum, Motul RBF 600. In my case, I've sprung for the Castrol SRF, which has better on-track heat resistance. Project Mu brake fluid also does a great job. I would also invest in an aftermarket oil cooler. The one I have is the Color Fittings oil cooler. Also, make sure you swap out the OEM oil, which is a very thin 0W20, for some aftermarket 5W30. I personally have just been running Pennzoil Platinum 5W30 full synthetic, but there are plenty of other good oils out there. There are plenty of better oils than that one, but that just happened to be the one that I can get easily and cheaply at my local Walmart. Just do a little bit of research, pick the oil that makes the most sense for you, but just make sure it's a 5W30. With just those two things, your BRZ will be track ready. Are you going to set blistering lap times? Obviously not. The stock tires are not very good. Even if you spring for the limited trim with the Pilot Sport 4 tires on 18-inch wheels, they're still pretty crap tires. Actually, I don't like these for street driving either because they're loud and stiff, but that's beside the point. What you don't want to do at your first track day, as a novice or someone who's new to rear-wheel drive platforms, is to throw some super grippy tires on there, like a RE71R or A052 or something similar, and just drive with full grip around the track. You're not going to learn much that way. Start with a lower grip tire, even the OEM tires, and work your way up. At least with the lower grip tires, you'll be able to feel the limits of the car very easily, and you'll learn the handling balance of the BRZ, which I would describe as initial turn and understeer with plenty of throttle steerability once you get the car settled mid-corner. And that's what I love about the BRZ. On track, it gives you options. You can steer this car with the steering wheel and the throttle. So I would call that stage 1 of modding your BRZ. Stage 1.5 would be adding a little bit of negative camber at the front end. Once you get used to the fact that this car has quite a bit of turn and understeer as a result of its front McPherson strut suspension, coupled with the fact that there's essentially no negative camber from the factory, you can very cheaply and very easily dial a lot of that out with a few different options. You can do the upper crash bolt coupled with some aftermarket camber bolts. With just those two mods, I was able to get minus 2.6 degrees of camber at the front end on bone stock suspension. You could also go for the Petters top mounts, which I think will give you a similar amount of negative camber as the two camber bolts will give you. And that mod alone will make the car feel a lot more pointy going into a corner. But all the mods I've mentioned so far, even if you did all of them, you're still looking at around $1,000 or less for everything. And personally, I would do all of that before even looking into high grip tires or suspension. Besides those mods, spend your money on seat time. Go to some autocross events, go to some track days. And I think you'll quickly come to appreciate what the BRZ and GR86 really offer to the driving enthusiast. And why I think for less than $50,000, this is still the most fun daily drivable car you can buy right now. So at 12,000 miles, you could argue that I've barely even broken in my BRZ, but I've already gotten so much seat time with it. Quality seat time, uninterrupted seat time. I haven't had any mechanical failures with this car in the, I think, 7 to 8 track days I've done with it. And yes, there is the looming RTV issue. I'm sure you already know all about it. So if you want peace of mind, by all means, drop your oil pan, inspect it, clear out the excess RTV, reapply it properly, and you're good to go. Either way, the BRZ still has a 3-year powertrain warranty, and from what I've heard, most dealerships have been honoring engine replacements. Obviously, your mileage may vary with that, but I'd still rather have a powertrain warranty than none at all. So yeah, long story short, those are some of the reasons why I've decided to keep my BRZ a while longer. There just hasn't been another car that's come out recently in the sub $50,000 price point, which for me is the price point at which I'd feel comfortable tracking a car as well as daily driving it, that's been able to speak to me the same way the BRZ does. And while yes, there are some limitations like the fairly cheap interior, the terrible sound system, etc., etc. There are some squeaks and rattles now, but all things considered, this is a perfectly livable car for my needs. I put about 10,000 miles during my first 12 months of ownership, and those were easy miles. I never found myself fatigued even after a long drive. I definitely wouldn't be able to say the same if I had an ND2 Miata, for example. So let me know what you guys think. If you've driven the BRZ or GR86 for an extended period of time, or if you own one, obviously, do you agree with my assessment? Do you think it is still one of the best sub $50,000 daily drivable, driving enthusiast focused cars out there? If not, what other options have I not considered? Or are there some cars that I've driven but just haven't spent enough time with to really appreciate them for what they are? Stay tuned for more BRZ content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.